Today is December 22nd, 1988. My name is Todd, and this is an interview with Mr. Eugene Campbell in Guthrie, Oklahoma. So where were you born?
I was born in Holdenville, Oklahoma.
And when's your birthday?
24th March,
What?
1932.
1932.
Mm-hmm.
And who was your father?
My father, Percy Campbell,
Percy Campbell. And your mother?
Helen Campbell,
And what was her maiden name?
Helen Simpson.
Simpson. And were they both from Oklahoma?
My father was, mother's from Texas.
And what type of work your father did?
He was a farmer.
Farmer? And did he farm around Holdenville?
Yes, in Hughes County.
East County. As a small boy, what chores did you do at the farm?
I did regular chores around a farm, you know. I fed hogs and fed cows and fed horses, cut wood, fixed fence.
And how large was the farm?
Oh, we had 300 acres.
300 acres. When did, was your father born in East County?
I'm not sure, but I think he was.
And did your family homestead on the farm there?
Oh, no, they didn't. We rented land from the Indians.
Okay, you rented land.
Mm-hmm.
In payment of the rent, did you pay it cash or did you sharecrop?
We sharecropped.
Sharecrop. How did that system work? How does the sharecropping system work?
In our particular case, we did it on a third. We take 2/3 and give the property owner a third.
Is that a good system?
Well, it worked for us. It worked for us.
And do you have any memories of the Depression?
No, I don't.
Okay. And when did you start school?
I started school at Benjamin Chapel Community School.
And that's in Holdenville?
That's in Hughes County, yes.
Okay, Benjamin Chapel. And is it an all-black school?
Yes, a all-black school.
How large is the school? How many students?
Probably less than 100. We had 8 grades in one school.
Was it one room?
One room school, right.
How did that one teacher handle all that grades at one time?
Well, she took the upperclassmen and worked with the lowerclassmen and give them assignments and let the 7th and 8th graders take care of the 1st and 2nd grade. And like that, she worked with the upperclassmen.
And what year did you start school there?
Oh, 1938.
Now, was your teacher white or was she black?
She was black.
And you went to the 8th grade there?
Went to 8th grade there, yes.
Benjamin Chapel. In the 8th grade, where'd you go?
I went to Lincoln High School in Holdenville, Oklahoma.
Again, was it an all-black school?
Oh, yes, it was.
Okay. And you graduated in what year?
Well, I didn't graduate from there. We moved from there to Wewoka in 1947, I guess it was. And I went to Douglas High School in Wewoka, all black school there.
Let me back up and ask, do you remember during World War II in school, did you help support the war effort? You know, with the metal drives, the paper?
Not in that such. No, we helped the effort by being farmers. That's the honest way we helped the effort through the World War II.
And you graduated in 1947.
No, didn't graduate then. I started Wewoka High School.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Douglas High School in 1947.
And you graduated what year?
I went there 2 years. I didn't graduate from high school there. I left and moved to California and went in the military, and I graduated high school in the military.
Okay. I'd like to back up. Was the KKK strong in Hughes County when you were a small boy?
I didn't hear much talk about it, but I did hear some talk about it.
Or by the 30s, it may have been on the decline. It was really strong back in the 20s, and it was really strong for Oklahoma.
Oh, right.
Why did the family move from Holdenville to Oklahoma?
Well, my dad quit farming in 1947. I had 4 brothers drafted in World War II in this. Only left 3 of the younger boys there, and we wasn't big enough to have a farm with him, so he quit farming and moved to the city.
And why did you move to California?
Job opportunities, I did.
And you got a job working?
I got a job working at a compress in Bakersfield, California, and from there I went to the military.
Is there quite a few of the Okies around Bakersfield?
Yes, quite a few, Okies and Arkies.
Yeah. Why is the term Okie a bad word in California?
I really don't know. I don't think it's a bad word. It's just a sort of slang-like word, Okie or Arkie or...
And you started working for a compress?
Right.
Okay, and what were your duties there?
My duties there, I was sewing heads on bales of cotton. It compressed cotton from a big bale and compressed to a small bale, and I'd sew the heads up on it to hold cotton in.
Now, when you sewed the heads up?
Right.
Now, what is...
Well, the ends of the cotton
Oh.
was one guy on one end and one on the other end. They'd put a burlap bag over there and sew it up, keep the cotton in. Of course, they had bands around the other portion of the cotton.
I understand. And you joined the Army?
I joined the Army in March of 1952.
52. And you did basic where?
At Fort Ord, California.
That was basic.
Basic was fun for me because I was in pretty good shape physically, and I could do most everything that they set out to do. I had fun in basic myself. I really did.
And did you have advanced training, AIT?
Right. That's when during that period you had basic and AIT straight through. I went for 16 weeks and graduated both. We didn't have a break in between like they do now.
And AIT consisted of what, was it infantry or?
Infantry. I had basic infantry the first 8 weeks, and then advanced infantry the second 8 weeks, and graduated.
What was going on in Korea at that time?
Korea was pretty hot then. It was very hot.
Do you think you'd go?
I sure did.
Why didn't you go?
I don't know. My whole unit went except 7 of us. And I was one of the 7 who went to Germany.
Any idea?
I don't know why. It just, my whole unit, 250, it was 250 my unit, and they all went to except 7. And I was one of the 7 went to Bamberg, Germany in October 52.
We're talking to Dr. Davis. He talked about racism in the military. Did you come across any racism during basic or AIT?
No. Well, the Army was integrated, but this had started to integrate when I went in. And racism I ran into in the military is promotions, and not as treatment of such. And I did have a little bit in Germany when I first got to Germany.
What was the reaction of the German civilians to the black soldiers?
The German civilians? Oh, we was treated well by the German people. But it was the Americans the one we had problems out of, not the Germans.
What were some of the things they did, the soldiers? If you care to talk about it.
Well, number one, they didn't seem to care for you to date a German girl, and of course, you know, and the race was started on that end of the thing. But other than that, I didn't run into any racism in Germany as far as the German people was the American people, the American soldiers.
What would they do to you, the American soldiers? What was some of them?
Well, but they never did do anything physically, all verbally. Right. You know, nigger, this kind of stuff.
And how long, what unit were you assigned to in Germany?
I was with my company, the 26th Infantry, 1st Infantry Division.
And what were your duties?
I started as a truck driver in that unit. When I left, I was a squad leader.
And how long were you in Bamberg?
I was in Bamberg from October of '52 until March of 1955.
And you went where?
I came back and got discharged. I got out of service.
Oh, you got discharged.
Right.
Okay. And after you discharged,
I went to Oklahoma City and to pursue a good job, I thought. And of course, the Korean War was over with, and job availability was none. And so I went back into service after a month.
okay. And what rank were you when you were discharged?
I was a Sergeant E5.
E5. Did you keep your rank when you?
Yes, it did. You could keep your rank if you stayed out less than 90. If you went back less than 90 days, you keep the same rank.
Okay.
So and I did. And I went from Oklahoma City, re-enlisted Oklahoma City in April of '55 and went to Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. And processed there and went to 82nd Airborne from there.
Jump school?
Jump school and stayed there as a paratrooper.
Oh yeah. See, jump wings. Tell me about your first jump.
Well, first jump's the best jump because I didn't know what to expect. And of course, it was kind of a fun thing because the chaplain, the chaplain led a stick. He was the first one out of my stick, so we wasn't hesitant to go after he left the aircraft. But
Now, what's a stick?
the jump line that you're in, they call them sticks.
How many men in a stick?
20
20.
on each side, so it'd be 40 in each plane.
What type of training did they give you to prepare you for your jump?
They give us 5 weeks of ground training, mostly physical fitness type training, and learns how to fall, parachute landing fall, and learns how to jump out of a 34-foot tower, and learn how to slip and how to control a chute, and to activate our reserve in case your main chute didn't open.
Is your main chute, is it a chest pack or backpack?
It's a backpack, and the reserve is on your front, on the chest.
Are you taught how to fold a parachute or pack a parachute?
No, we didn't. We was not taught that. They had a parachute rigging company that they rigged all the
So you
chutes.
didn't pack your own chute?
Didn't pack your own chute.
Okay. So when you jumped out of the airplane, what were you thinking? Standing in the doorway looking at 20,000 feet.
I was thinking, is it going to open? And of course, when it did open, and I looked up, it was the greatest feeling in the world. And of course, like I say, your first jump is your best jump because you don't know what to expect. After then, it gets a little harder because you know what to expect. No, it's going to give you a pretty good jerk when the chute opens.
And how many jumps do you make in jump school?
5 to qualify.
5 to qualify.
Right, for jump wings.
And after jump school, which way?
I stayed right there,
At
in
Fort
at the same unit, right. The H Company, the 325th Infantry. I stayed right there for another 2 years, I guess it was, a year and a half. From there, I went to Korea in 1956.
Did they have special forces then? Was that before special?
They had, yes, they did. They had special forces, but very limited. Very limited.
Were they at Fort Bragg at that time?
They was at Fort Bragg, right.
And where were you sent to Korea?
I was sent to Korea to the 19th Regiment, my company, 19th Regiment, 24th Infantry Division. I was a mortar squad leader, 81 millimeter mortar squad leader.
What are the duties of the squad leader in the Fort Company?
Well, the duty of squad leader is, of course, to train and is responsible for the training and welfare of the men under him, and to include the promotion and to get a fair break on promotions, just the general welfare of the squad.
you have any duties at the DMZ?
Right, we were stationed on the DMZ.
You were.
Yes, I stayed the whole.
Any incidents up there while you were?
Very few at that time, very few. My
Yes.
my unit stayed on DMZ, well, 16 months I was there.
Has there been a fisheries hunt, has there, with North Korea? It's still just an armistice?
I think so, I think you're right about that. I'm not sure, but I think you're right.
So you were in Korea. What was the Korean civilian reaction to the American soldiers?
The one I've had connection with, they felt pretty good because we was there. They was very friendly people, and they loved because we was there protecting their country.
And from Korea, where'd you go?
Career, I came back to the 101st Airborne in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. That period I switched from infantry to field artillery. And I went as a recon sergeant in mortar battery, the 502nd Airborne.
You have to go to Fort Sill?
No, I was at Fort Campbell,
Okay.
Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
So you didn't go to Fort Sill for artillery training?
No, I didn't.
No,
No,
okay.
I didn't. Not at that time.
And how long were you at Fort Campbell?
I stayed there a year and a half, I think it was, and I re-enlisted and went back to the 82nd Airborne. Because I liked Fort Bragg, so I re-enlisted. They gave us the option that former members of the 82nd Airborne could re-enlist. Upon the re-enlistment, re-enlist and volunteer to go back to the 82nd Airborne, and that's what I did. I went to mortar battery 503rd Airborne, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
And what year was this?
This was in April of 58.
50 years. Okay. And how long did you stay there this time?
I stayed there till May of 1960, and then my unit went to Okinawa and formed the 503rd Airborne Battle Group in Okinawa.
I was going to ask, to back up a little bit, what was your reaction when the French lost at Dien Bien Phu in '54? What were you aware of?
54, I was in Germany, and we wasn't aware too much about that then. At least we wasn't made aware of it in 1954.
Okay. So the 503rd Battle Group in Okinawa, how long were you there?
I stayed there 2 years, I guess it was. I stayed there till January of '62. And I came back and re-enlisted and went, quit Airborne and went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So that was my start in Fort Sill.
Okay. And what were your duties at Fort Sill?
I went to Fort Sill as, of course, I was still E5. And I went there and they trained me in the Fought Erection Center. So I went there as a Fought Erection computer. And I stayed there from '62 until August of '65.
You were still E5?
Still E5. And from there I went to, after President Johnson made his commitment to commit more troops to Vietnam, I got orders to help fill a unit in Fort Bliss, Texas. So I went from Fort Sill to Fort Bliss, Texas to fill this unit up. Trained there until October of '65, and then from there we went to Vietnam.
Okay. How did you travel to Vietnam?
We went by ship. Went by ship.
And any incidents on the ship?
No, seasick. That's about all. 31 days. Took us 31 days to get there.
And you landed at what port?
We made 3 stops. We stopped at Quinón and let off the rear detachment of the 1st Cavalry Division, which was already there. Then we stopped in Cameron Bay and let a rear detachment of the 50th Signal Company off there, and we debarked in Vung Tau. We trucked from there to Benoit.
And what unit were you with at this time?
I was with the headquarters in headquarters battery, 6th of the 27th Field Artillery.
Was Vietnam pretty hot that time in '65?
Yes it was. Yes it was.
And what were your quarters like at Benoit?
Oh, we stayed in tents. We stayed in pup tents, 2-man tents. And then, well, of course, we stayed there a month. I guess it was maybe 3 weeks to a month. Then we went from there to Phuc Vien, Vietnam, and of course tents there also. And we were attached to the 1st Infantry Division as general support with the heavy artillery.
What was the reaction of the Vietnamese civilians, Americans?
The one I've come in contact with, they was not too friendly, I think. Of course, I couldn't tell the good ones from the bad ones. And it seemed to me they was all, or the most I met was not too friendly as far as Americans in their country.
And how long stayed at Phuc Vien?
I stayed there 6 months.
How'd you like Phuc Vien?
Well, I didn't. I didn't like it. It was hot, and the weather was hot, and of course, you was in combat, and just inconvenience. I didn't like the inconvenience of being in war.
I spent some time at Phuc Vien. Nobody. They say it's jungle out there. From Phuc Vien, where'd you go?
Back to Benoit. Went back to Benoit. Now I went over to unit, and what they did at that time, they took 50% of the people and sent them to another unit after 6 months to avoid the entire unit rotating at the same time. So I was chosen one of the 50% that was moved out of that unit. So I went back to the 2 Field Forces headquarters, and I worked as an intelligence sergeant.
How long did you stay in Vietnam?
12 months.
12 months. I see you have 3 campaign stars. What 3 campaigns were you in?
I don't know whether they gave them names or not, but the main ones I was in is the Iron Triangle. Those were the one I was involved with.
What'd you do there? Iron Triangle.
Oh, we took the Iron Triangle from the enemy and blew all the bunkers up and then moved out.
Ever have any contact with the tunnel rats?
No, it didn't.
Those people are crazy. They're the ones that go down the tunnels. What's your fondest memory of Vietnam?
Fondest memory of Vietnam, getting promoted.
To E6?
No, I'm 87 now.
47?
Yeah. I missed a promotion now somewhere. I got promoted to E6 in Okinawa, I guess it was.
What's your worst memory of Vietnam?
Probably seen a friend lose his life.
Of course, we have all the booby traps and all. You had much contact with the, I guess, the terrorist element of the NDA, the DC, the booby traps and all that?
No, we didn't have that much because we had pretty good protection. Being in field artillery, the 1st Infantry Division gave us pretty good protection, so they didn't get back in our area too much. But we did have a couple of incidents where they would booby trap or put hand grenades on the fence, and of course, I think this came from the local people that we hired around the area. And we did have a couple of incidents of that nature. But other than that, we didn't, because our protection was pretty good.
That was the 1st Cav Division. They had they had an attack by the DC and NDA.
Mm-hmm.
Found out that the guy that had the attack was the commanding general's interpreter.
That's right.
That's when they kicked all civilian KPs off post.
That happened. We had one incident where our barber was involved, a company barber, the guy that came up and cut everybody's hair. But he was one of the leaders. Of course, he got killed.
Yeah, like you said, you couldn't do the goodness to the bad.
That's right. That's right.
What do you, when you reflect back on Vietnam, what do you think of?
Well, reflecting back, why was we there? I never did find out why was we there. I guess that would be my reflection back on Vietnam.
I think it's things like, because I realize it's called money. If you make too much money, because war's good business.
Yes, it is.
That's my personal opinion. And you returned to the States in '66?
66, right. Went back to Fort Sill. Was operations sergeant of the 1st Training Battalion, 66.
And how long did you stay in the military?
27 years, 6 months, and 28 days.
And you retired what year?
1 August 1979.
79. And you teach ROTC at the high school now?
Yes, I do.
And when did you begin teaching?
The 2nd of August 1979.
What, how does, of course, I was in ROTC at college, how does the ROTC at high school differ from ROTC at college?
Well, basically, we teach the same subjects, probably different, of course. In high school, the students are not on the contract, and they are not obligated to take ROTCs. Strictly a volunteer subject that a high school student have the opportunity to take. And of course, our mission there is to motivate students to become better citizens. Or in college, ROTCs, you are striving to produce a productive second lieutenant. I taught college ROTC prior to high school ROTC.
Oh, where do you teach?
East Central University,
Oh.
Ada.
Are there any rewards from the high school students, like being an appointment to West Point or the Air Force Academy, anything like this?
Just for being a cadet, no. I guess the biggest reward would be to if they went from high school into the military. After 2 or 3 years, they could go in 1 or 2 grades higher than a normal student would go in, other than ROTC. 3 years could go in as a PFC, private first class, and 2 years go in as E2.
How many students you have?
We have 174 at this time.
Are the women getting into ROTC now?
Yes, we have 30, in this program this year, we have 38 females.
If we go into combat, will they have women in frontline companies?
I would think not. I would think not, because they are not offered the combat field at this time. Females are not.
Whenever anyone mentions Vietnam, what's the first thing you think of?
Or I reflect back the experience that I had there when I was there.
Was there anything as a front line in Vietnam? Like in World War II, we had, the front lines and anything like this in Vietnam?
No, that's what made it so unique, I think, a difficult war to fight, because it was not in the front lines. The front line there wasn't any, didn't exist. So the enemy was everywhere.
I think the border.
Right.
Going back to your childhood, when you were a child, did you ever think that you would pursue a career in the military? Or was this a way out for you to be able to take care of a family?
As a child pursuing a military career, no, I never did think I would, because one reason, because I had 4 brothers, like I said, was drafted in World War II, and of course they all got out, and I figured I would do the same thing. After my 3-year enlistment, I figured I would go in and do the best I could do in 3 years, and try to obtain all the maximum rank I could obtain at that time, and then get out. That's exactly what I did. But after I came back, the job situation kind of forced me to go back in. And after I went back in the second time, at that time, made the decision that I was going to make a career out of it. And of course I did stay in at that time.
Another question that runs through my mind with the other oral histories of the other gentlemen are difference of feeling about treatment in the military. Whereas at certain bases, blacks were treated much differently than at other bases. The bases that you were at, seems to me they weren't as harsh as some of the bases that two of the other gentlemen were at. Do you think that the area that they were in would have something to do with the feeling of the racism in the military?
No, I don't think it was the area. I think it was the time period that there was a little different than the time period that I was in. The racism in the military is got a little bit lighter after the Korean conflict, after we started getting some NCOs and officers with combat experience and know what it was like to fight with minorities, and found out that the minorities was just like anyone else. And I think that's when racism kind of lightened up a little bit. For my experience, I know when I first went to Germany in '52, we had very few Korean combat veterans over there. But after we got some veterans in there, things changed a little bit. I started to get promoted, and other minorities started to get promoted. And of course, I went from driver, the lowest man in the squad, to the squad leader after we started getting some people in with combat experience in there. And I think that was the difference between the other gentleman and myself, is not the area, it was the experience that the military people had at the period of time that they was in.
Do you feel like that you made your rank at the same length of period of time as the other gentlemen that were in your unit? Or do you think it took you longer to be able to receive your rank?
Well, like I said before, I think I felt more racism in that way than I did in any other way, is holding back on rank. It took me a little longer than the average guy, being a minority, I felt, to attain rank. Of course, I didn't make sergeant major. I had 25 years in when I made sergeant major, and I felt I should have made it at 20. So it was racism in rank. But the best thing that happened to the rank structure in the military, I feel, is when the Department of Army took over the super grades, E6, 7, 8, and 9, and started promoting you strictly from your records and from your test score, and not from who you are. And of course, that is a plus for the military, I feel.
Do you feel that you have any remorse because of how they did you with your rank?
No, I don't have any remorse feeling on that. Just that period of time. And of course, being a NCO, I felt my duty was to set a good example for the other minorities who was coming in the military, and those minorities was under me in the military. And that's what I did, and I continue to do that through my experience with the ROTC now. Is do the best I can to set a good example for those who are around me.
Were you offered or asked to go to officer school?
No, I was not. I was offered to apply for a battlefield commission when I was in Vietnam, and of course I decided against that.
Why did you decide against that?
Because from experience from the RIF and during the Korean conflict, I felt with my education level, only high school graduate, that I would have been rifted back to an NCO once the war was over with, and that would have slowed me down much more than attaining sergeant major in the Army. So I chose not to take that, to apply for a direct commission.
Would this have been done
would have got rifted without a doubt back to my original rank, which would have been E7.
Would this be a natural practice for the military?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. They only took the college grads who, some of them got rifted when those personnel who got a direct commission. So that was my decision why I didn't apply for that, because I was almost sure I would have got rifted back to my enlisted grade.
Did you have your family with you when you were stationed in the States? Did they live with you, move where you were? Did they follow you?
Yes, they did at Fort Sill. Now, they was not with me at Fort Campbell, but at Fort Bragg they was with me, and Fort Sill they was with me, and I took them to Germany with me.
When you were away from your family, did you find that it caused any problems being away, or that it was better to have the family with you? As a soldier, what frame of mind did it put you in?
It was always better for me to have my family with me, because that gave me something else to worry about when I'm stationed one place and my wife and children another place. And it was better for me to have my family with me. I was a much better soldier. I was much better family man, I believe, with my family with me. So I was much better off with my family with me.
So do you feel today, with the cost of some of the military men being overseas and the price of the dollar today, that it probably is going to cause problems in the military among the soldiers because their families are going to have to stay home more?
Well, I would feel that it would, but the military does a pretty good job of this day and time, or letting your family travel with you if you need 5 or above. But for the lower grades, it would create a problem for family separation. I think that's one of the big problems in the military is family separation.
Do you feel that the military addresses this problem?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because when I went to Germany, of course, I was the first sergeant, but I didn't have any problems when I got to Germany. I got quarters, and immediately my family, I sent from the family, and they came over. And we only had a separation of probably 80 to 90 days of separation. But some of the lower grades, the separation was much longer than it would be for a first sergeant or sergeant major.
Sergeant Major Campbell, I notice a very stern in your voice. Is this from your military training? Are there things that you're able not to say because you're still with the military that you ordinarily would say if you were not attached with them still?
No, I don't think so. Of course, I can't depart with any secrets I know about the military, but that's not the case today. I just have a great feeling for the military because the military have really taught me everything I know. And I spent my whole life in the military, and I'm still connected with the military, and I think it's one of the best ways that a young man could get his feet on the ground by going in the military. And I am very, very, very sold on the military.
Well, I think we have a good interview. Is there anything that you want to discuss that we haven't covered that you can think of?
No.
Think about Vietnam or anything?
No, of course, everyone had a bad time in Vietnam. I was just glad to leave, and glad that I didn't get wounded the year I was there, and didn't volunteer for a second tour in Vietnam. And the four brothers in World War II. They all came back also. Of course, some of them, two of them got wounded, but they came back, and I'm just thankful for that.
Now, you're Sergeant Major, correct?
That's correct.
And this is the enlisted dress uniform?
The enlisted dress, right? Dress blues.
Yeah, what's the stripes you have in the arm? What?
Us, time in service.
Time and service.
Time in service.
Yeah. Now, when you say time and service, what does each stripe represent?
Each gold stripe represents 3 years of service.
So you have how many stripes?
Probably 8 on this uniform, I think it is.
Okay.
Unless I'm authorized one more. But the period I bought this uniform, I only had 24 years service.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. My son's Sergeant Major. And we got to talking, and I said, well, I know that guy. He and I were stationed together. So when my son went back, he told him, of course he shouldn't have, because he wrote in for me. He was a good man, though. He was a good man.
You might explain to him, Joe, about the tape, if he wants to have one for his family.
Oh, yeah, we can make you a copy of the tape for the family if you like, of this interview.
Sure.
And we charge the price of a tape. We used to give them away, but with the budget crunch now, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like a copy, we can make you a copy of this.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd like to have one. Probably use ROTC.
Okay.
You know,
Sure will.
he did one of my dad, and so